Welcome to Masters of the Nerdiverse, where we always have such sights to show you.
What up, what up?
This is, of course, your host, Mike G.
And this is Bradley, the one and only.
Ready to bring the news to you as it is and as it's heard and kind of go over how everything's going in the Nerdiverse. You can always find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube. Looking into going into Spotify as well. Get us on Spotify. But Spotify is weird. It's like you have to go through like the sorting hat in Hogwarts to get into Spotify. I was reading some of the guidelines. It's very weird. It's like,
is that right?
They have to approve of you. You have to be approved.
It's very serious.
It's very serious. It's very, you have to kind of already have an idea of your demographic and all that good stuff.
It's only for the belle of the ball.
It's only for the belle of the ball, man. It's only for, Johnny Two Shoes.
That's right.
His shoes are infinitely too shiny. So I wanted to actually see how our weeks are going, how your week went. So how's your week? How's everything working out?
It was cool, didn't have to work on Monday, so it was welcome coming
that Labor Day, man.
Yeah, I had a 3-day weekend, one that I haven't had in a long time.
Yeah.
Which gave me some time to work on a little bit of writing and some reading.
Oh, okay. What you writing on, man?
Oh, just randomly jotting down stuff, trying to get the creative juices flowing.
Yeah, man. I'm going to tell you the secret to, I'm going to tell you what to eat and drink to maximize creative efficiency. You get 4 small ramekins. You know what a ramekin is, right?
Negative.
Ramekin is a small baking dish. It's like what they use to make like pound cakes and shit, right?
Okay.
You get your 4 small ramekins, right? You get a different flavor of pho in each ramekin, right? So you get you your beef, your tendons, get you, your fish ball. You get all 4, right? And then you get a large cup of horchata, ice cold, made by someone authentic. Go to someone's house and get the horchata, though. Don't just buy it from, piggies, you know what I'm saying?
Can I go to Pollo Campero to get more horchata?
Yes, you can, because Pollo Campero is delicious.
Okay.
I know the owner's daughter. No, I don't. I'm just kidding. I bet she's a lovely lady. But that is actually imagination fuel.
Okay.
You eat all 4 things of the pho, and you drink the horchata till it's done, and you will write the next great American novel. That's how it works. Mark Twain did it. Mark Twain did it. He don't like talking about it, you know what I'm saying? But he did it. It was crazy. Right. But yeah, that's a little pro tip for those in the Nerdiverse.
I'm going to put that to the test.
I can't wait. I want a video. We're going to have to make it.
Absolutely.
I want the Imagination Station brought to you by Bradley.
So what cracked off on your weekend, man?
Man, my weekend was real cool, man. It's like I experienced some different things. Like I played a bunch. I still playing Injustice 2. You know what I'm saying? That's starting to get actually burned out on it. But, right, they're like a drug dealer. Because once you start getting used to the supply, they change it up on you. And
what do you mean by that?
They add new things. So, I'm playing the game. I'm like, all right, I'm playing online. It's, it's a video game experience. And then they just released a patch, which kind of changed things up. They constantly change how the characters work and interact with each other. In regards to like tweaking things. Some characters are too powerful and they're not tweaked right. And some characters are too weak and they have to boost them up a little bit. So it changes the dynamic of the game.
What would be the point of doing that though?
Because things have to be balanced. There has to be, all games need balance. Even from Super Mario, back on Nintendo, there has to be a level of balance between the fighters and their weaknesses and balances. Because if one fighter is too overpowered, then in tournament scenes, it becomes very one note. So, like, you can always tell an imbalanced game if you were watching, let's say, EVO. For those who don't know, is the Evolution fighting game tournament that happens every year in Vegas. It's pretty much the Super Bowl for fighting game fans, right? Okay. And if you're playing a game like, let's say, Street Fighter V, and the top 10 is full of Guile players, Guile's an overpowered character, and everybody's utilizing that. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
The game makers have to balance these characters out.
But you said some characters were too weak.
Yeah, sometimes a character can be balanced to where they're not up to snuff with the other characters competitively. Whereas their moves may be too light, they may not connect on certain combos, things like that.
Is that like a mistake on the programmer's end? Not
really. It's more like just tweaking. It's like the character is built with them in mind, and then you have to do testing, like beta testing and alpha testing. And that's how you find out the little weaknesses in your design. So it's more like they've written this paper, and now they're having someone proofread it. And the people who are proofreading it are the fans, the person buying this product. And with the advent of the internet, now you can just go and upload those updates and changes to keep the game fresh and to keep things balanced.
So you're saying that by the time the updates reach the console, there's no way that a player is too powered up or too weakened down by the tweaking?
Not really. I mean, the tweaks are never too monumental. So it's always, it's very
subtle.
You're not going to just give, E Honda a fireball and just to balance him out.
I thought you meant more like his 100 hand slap is going to cause like a vast amount of more damage than before.
Yeah, that would be a good example of a tweak where it may not be vast, it may be on the percentage.
Right. Yeah. So that's that's what I was more thinking that you meant. Like they would do a vast adjustment where like a fireball would, devastate an opponent now.
Well, yeah, and that could be construed as a buff, is what they call it in the fighting game community.
Oh, okay.
And a nerf is where they kind of lower the character's energy.
The opposite.
Exactly.
Right.
So it keeps the game fresh. What else? During this week, I watched a movie that kind of blew my mind. It was called The Big Short. You ever heard of this movie?
Absolutely.
So it was about the home marketing crash of 2008, and it's not really my cup of tea in the content. You know what I mean? Because I'm not watching business movies, but I was going through Netflix. It was over the weekend. I had a long weekend. So I just put it on. And it's a sobering movie, man. Like, really based on what happened in for the marketing crisis and kind of how all these bigwigs had their heads in the sand and pretty much just ignored that they were kind of low-key destroying the world economy. Right. You know what I mean? And, like, the people who saw it coming were Chicken Littles. You know what I mean? Like, they were just screaming to the rooftops that this was going to happen. And it didn't mean anything. It still happened, and nobody really was kind of... only people affected by it were the little guy.
Yeah, that sounds like a bunch of other things that's going on, but that's on a different note.
Right, like, you've seen the movie, right?
Once.
From your general idea, what are your feelings about just that whole thing? It's kind of crazy to me. Like, it made me want to look into that world a little bit more, you know what I mean? Just get a better understanding.
Well, I mean, that's... To put it lightly, it's all a part of the game, When you got a lot of money, it doesn't matter if it's a buyer or seller's market because you're winning on both ends.
Straight up.
You're either the buyer or the seller. You're buying low and you're selling high.
You're selling high. And I've been kind of doing low-key research. I'm not going to become like the gecko or anything anytime soon. I'm not trying to be the Wolf of Wall Street, but I kind of would like to dip my toe in that arena. Just to kind of be more educated, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that movie kind of inspired me to look a bit more into it.
You know what? A movie I watched this weekend that kind of educated me?
What?
Starship Troopers 3.
Yeah, that's what's up.
It educated me on...
Is that the Return of Rico?
I would imagine. Rico was the guy that
Rico's
was supposed to get killed, and...
he died like 3 times already, man.
Okay,
it's the wackest.
Yeah, well, Starship Troopers 3, it educated me on that there's no such thing as the wackest movie ever. Because there will always be another movie that comes in and blows the last one out of the water.
No, man. We can't live in a world of absolutes, duh. Like,
right.
So when you think you've seen the worst thing ever, the internet or the world will drop it in your lap.
Exactly.
And present it to you in a big, giant, beautiful dish.
But it was a bittersweet thing because I actually... I don't like bad movies that are only a little bit bad. I love bad movies that are super bad.
Extremely bad, right?
And Starship Troopers 3 was flirting with that super bad.
Super bad. Not as bad as the movie Super Bad, but super bad.
Yes.
Even though some people love Super Bad, though, but I digress.
That is...
How was the graphics?
In Starship Trooper 3?
Yes.
I mean... Wow. Wow. I think they only used CGI for the bugs, and they probably cropped the bugs from the first movie and the second one.
Isn't it crazy how these films, usually the first one is usually the better of all of them? Especially like in science fiction and horror. It's like the budget for the first one, and it looks amazing. To this day, the first one holds up. You know what I'm saying? Like graphically, it looks great. But then you would think the more you do them, the budget will get bigger, the talent will increase, but it just decreases so bad. Like, the first Nightmare on Elm Street versus like Freddy's Dead is almost like two different movies. You know what I'm saying?
That's this is the business guys are thinking. Once the first one sells, they say, "Hey, we got 1 million people to come watch the first one, and we spent $100,000 to make it."
Yeah.
So now we got 1 million fans, and 80% of those fans are going to come back to see the second one in the first week, and the rest of those 20% is going to come back to see it. I don't know, sometime throughout their life. So we're going to get that money back, that 1 million fans. So we might as well spend less on this next movie.
Yeah.
And cut the budget down, make more money.
Do you know the story of like Nightmare on Elm Street and how all that kind of came about?
No.
Real quick. So Wes Craven, God rest his soul, created Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
And he was having a hard time distributing the film because it was so left of center from what everything was coming out, right?
Okay.
So he worked with New Line and their producer at the time, Bob Shea, to produce the film. The only caveat was that he lost all rights to the character to bring his vision to life. And the moment that movie blew up, they kicked him right out. You know what I mean?
This is Wes Craven?
Wes Craven. He also directed Scream, Last House on the Left. He's one of those horror icons. You know what I mean?
Okay. Where would you put him in the hierarchy of horror filmmakers?
He's definitely top 5 dead or alive. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely say that. He's probably top 3.
Who's responsible for the Hellraisers?
That's Clive Barker.
Okay, Clive Barker. Who's responsible for? Okay, you got Stephen King, Clive Barker, Wes Craven,
Toby
Dennis,
Hooper.
Yeah, Toby Hooper, and there's one more guy.
That you have in mind?
He passed.
George A. Romero.
Romero.
Yeah. There's quite a few more. There's Mick Garris.
Okay, he's not. That name is not familiar.
No, he was the guy. Mick Garris helped with. I want to say Pet Sematary.
Okay, that movie sounds familiar. Okay.
You know what I mean? He's also a horror guy.
But Stephen King has Pet Sematary under his belt, right?
Yes, because he wrote it. He wrote the original film.
He can't. Was it Mitt Harris?
Mick Garris.
Mitt Garris gets no credit for that.
And that's usually how it goes. It's usually like if the name on the title is what's going to be like.
Well, Stephen King wrote it, right?
Right.
So what did Mick Garris do?
He would have been the director of the film.
Okay, well, yeah, you get directing credit, but
people aren't going to remember.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Case,
I should
right?
say the creators of the horror film, whether you're the writer or the writer director. Mm-hmm. So there's some that are writer directors, right?
There's some that are writer directors. There's some that are just writers, and there's some that are just directors.
Okay, so
you know what I'm saying. And
which one of those guys that we named earlier is a writer director?
I mean, Clive Barker, you could say, is a writer director. Okay. He wrote and directed Hellraiser, and he wrote and directed in The Lord of Illusion. He's also wrote and directed that. It just depends on, because a lot of times the writers get frustrated with the directors, especially if they don't stay to their creative process, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So if the reason why Clive Barker directed Hellraiser is because he originally wrote one of my favorite horrible horror movies, Rawhead Rex. Which I love.
I remember
I
that
unironically love Rawhead Rex. And the guy who directed Rawhead Rex totally threw out Clive Barker's idea, and he just made whatever the movie he wanted to make, and it rubbed Clive the wrong way so much that he said, "There's no way anyone is touching Hellraiser but me." So he became a writer director.
Is there any for any Rawhead Rex fans out there?
Yo, let's go,
Mike. Is there any direction you can point them into to figure out what's his name? Clive Barker.
Yeah.
A Clive Barker Rawhead Rex film should have been? Is there any way that they can figure out what that should have looked like?
Yeah, you can just read the original source material. Read the actual short story.
Yeah, have you read it?
Yes.
How different is it from the movie?
Okay, I'll put it like this. The film Rawhead Rex is pretty much about a giant monster that jumps out of a hole and terrorizes rural Ireland. Right?
That's not the guy in your truck, is it? No, I'm thinking of a different movie.
You're thinking of Rawhead Rex is the one where...
I know I watched it.
Yeah, I know I've made you watch it at some point.
The name is too familiar.
Rawhead Rex
I watched it several times.
If you've never seen Rawhead Rex, in October, they're actually releasing a Blu-ray Criterion collection of Rawhead Rex. Rawhead Rex is, today, is extremely hard to find because it's not in print.
What's the difference between the movie that was created and Clive Barker?
Okay, back to that. So the movie is pretty much about a monster that terrorizes rural Ireland, right?
Okay.
The book is about pretty much a giant phallus. Rawhead Rex in the book is pretty much just a giant phallus. He's a giant dick. And he goes around and tries to attack and kill as this creature. I can't put it any other way than what that is. If you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And it's very weird, and nobody was going to make that.
Okay.
If you pull up a picture of Rawhead Rex as art, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's kind of crazy. And Clive was livid that they didn't realize his dream of putting a giant dick on screen for everyone to see.
Wow.
And pretty much run havoc. But that is a good example. Maybe the writer's vision isn't what's best for business, because you can't just, how do you make that person happy?
You know what? A friend of mine.
If you're going like Trauma, you just want to go for the camp. That's one thing, but you can't do that and make it be it's hard to make that a serious project.
No, because there are films like that where the artists stay true to their content. But what I found is that most films that are true to the content aren't really films that make a lot of money. So
no, because
they're like a guy.
Too unique.
A friend of mine told me that he watched a film about all different type of shits.
Like literal shit?
Yeah, it's an art film where this very artistic director decided to make a film about shit. So
we all have our dreams, man. I can't knock them.
Yeah, and that was I didn't watch it.
He's like, this
My
is gonna be the shit. He just started writing a script.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But yeah, he said it was so off-putting that he doesn't.
I mean, there's movies out there that are just like irredeemable.
Well, I'm saying
irreversible.
All I'm saying is, you
don't want to watch them.
If Clive Barker wanted to, he could make that movie.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure he has the props to do it.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. But it's Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. Just because you could, did you ever stop to think that you should? You know what I'm saying? It's like we've all seen horrible. The worst movie I've ever seen in theaters was Freddy Got Fingered. That's the only time I've ever was so mad that I paid money to see that.
You watched the whole thing?
The whole thing.
You didn't leave and get your money back?
Because I needed to understand.
Okay.
That's my personality. Like, I sat through 10 seasons of Smallville because I needed to understand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I need to finish because I need to see the big picture and give my full assessment.
I can understand.
And my full assessment of Freddy Got Fingered was the garbages. And then the guy blew up Drew Barrymore's house on accident. He was married to Drew Barrymore.
Right. This is Tom Green.
I'm sorry, Tom Green. And he was married to Drew Barrymore. And this idiot put the house on fire while she was out like getting eggs or some shit. And it was her mom's old house. Like it was this ancient, like not ancient, it's Hollywood, but it was like this Hollywood level sick house that's been in the family for generations. And this idiot burned it down. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, Big Short, crazy movie. Played some Sonic Mania. Which is the latest Sonic the Hedgehog game, which is actually based on the 2D art from like Sonic and Knuckles. Okay. So it's kind of like a throwback.
Nice.
Definitely recommend playing that. That was super fun. And lastly, I got into Narcos Season 3. You watched Narcos?
Not yet.
Ooh, Narcos is super good, man. This season's about the Cali cartels after the death of big drug dealer. Why do I want to say Fidel Castro? Even though I'm probably pretty sure he dabbled in his things.
What year does it take place in?
Pablo Escobar. This season 3 takes place like during the 90s, back when cocaine started hitting New York. And well, the whole show is about the rise and fall of Pablo Escobar.
Okay.
And he was the biggest drug runner in history, I want to say. Because it all started in Colombia, where it was just like this stuff this guy found in the middle of the jungle. And he was just like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and monetize this, whatever this cocaine is. And it pretty much became his own empire. The guy made hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's the most fascinating mix of dramatization and real life things. Because the show would blend actual news footage and actual newsreels and newspaper clippings with the actors in the action. and it just fascinated me. I was like, this is really, really good.
Okay.
And I just started the new season wondering how do you pick up after you've defeated Darth Vader, the biggest, baddest drug dude on ever, and they're kind of going into that. So I would definitely recommend Narcos to anyone who's even remotely interested in that kind of real world, but also kind of strangely dramatic fantasy storytelling. You may have nightmares, because I watch it and I always have nightmares where people are running up on my house with guns and stuff. And I'm like, I just have a soda. Like,
right.
You don't want anything from my house.
Well, it is a Coke.
It is a good one. Good one. It was a Coke. Can you imagine having a bottle of Coke back in the day where they actually put cocaine in it?
I can imagine.
Grandpa was lit, though. Back on that porch.
Grandson.
Great-granddaddy.
Grandbaby.
They would kill the whole Coke and then just
spaz out.
They just stroke out.
That's what they was doing Harlem Shakes back then.
No, for real. Grandpa drink 3 Cokes and just
start Harlem shaking.
Do all the laundry by himself.
And then start Harlem shaking.
And then Harlem shake it out.
Yeah.
And Grandma be like, "There's too much Coke for you, baby."
That's the worst dance ever, the Harlem Shake.
Nah, the worst dance ever is the
chicken noodle soup.
No, is this a super inside joke? But the worst dance ever is the Rico, and no one knows what the Rico is unless you were back. Remember the Rico?
Is that like something with Jonathan or Clarence?
No, it's with us. Rico, he would come around. Remember Rico? He was an idiot. He would come around the house.
That's the Gino.
No, he would jump. And it was always till last night I think of you. Remember?
Yeah, that's Gino.
Was that the Gino?
That's Gino.
Oh, Gino.
That's his Rico's cousin. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I remember Rico doing it.
Yeah.
Sorry for that inside baseball. It's the worst dance I've ever seen in my life, and I've committed it to memory. Anything else going on with your week?
Nah, man.
Besides doing the Gino,
just happy to be back at work making some money.
Yeah, man. I started getting cabin fever. I was like, after a while, I'm just like, let me just go back to work.
It rained at the beach. I went to the beach a couple days ago, and it was raining at the beach, and it was still hot.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Global warming, huh? Mm-hmm. Hope you guys like to swim, because it's going to be looking like Escape from LA in about 20, 30 years, probably. Anywho, I think this will be a good, nice segue into the news.
Alrighty.
Sound effects. So many sound effects. This time I think I want it to be the sound of a gorilla getting kind of upset. That undergrowl?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to find that shit on the internet.
Harambe.
Dicks out for Harambe always. That's what they say.
Right.
Do you know anything about our Lord and Savior Harambe? That's what chimps say to you when you go to like the zoo.
Absolutely.
You got your fried ice cream and shit. A chimpanzee will just walk up to you and start telling you about Harambe, how he'll save you.
That's right.
If you don't listen, they get upset.
Right. Now, let's go into the first news of the day. Now,
yes,
we got a new showing. So, as you remember from last week, we talked about Anna Dot playing Starfire in the live-action Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Now we got Brenton, and we've been trying this for a long time, and I'm just going to go ahead and butcher it like I butchered everything last week.
Butcher, my friend.
Thawitz.
Thwaites? Suffering Succotash?
Yeah. Well, this guy was in Pirates of the Caribbean 5. He was previously a star.
You know what? I recognize his face. You ever seen the movie Oculus?
No.
With the evil mirror?
No.
Okay. I think he was in Oculus, too. But I could be wrong. And I don't want to do spoilers for Oculus, even though it's not the best movie, but he was good in that.
What about The Giver and Maleficent? He was in The Giver and Maleficent.
I've seen Maleficent, is what you're trying to say.
Oh, yeah, Maleficent.
That's actually the best Disney villain of all time. Come at me. Maleficent's the best. She's pretty much a Marvel villain, just in Disney.
Disney is Marvel, my friend.
Damn, man. This is the world. This is the dark universe we live in now. Even though that may be a good thing.
What do you think about this guy as being Dick Grayson?
I mean, you gotta have a Dick Grayson in a Titan show.
How do you like the cut of his jib?
I like the cut of his jib. He needs to put on some weight. Maybe tone up a bit.
Well, he's gonna be the little.
He's gonna be the boy toy, man. He's gonna be arrowed on the on the salmon ladder. You know what I'm saying? He has to have a certain look, and you gotta cut up if you're gonna do the superhero stuff. Man or woman, you gotta cut up. You gotta look good.
Well, that brings us to our next guy because I'm really interested in this guy right here. So
okay,
we got Leonardo DiCaprio considered for being the Joker. So this is a 2-part question.
Yes.
What do you think about it, and how would you feel if it actually happens?
There's a double-edged sword when you gripe about who is hired to do what. And it started back with Michael Keaton as Batman, people griping about that. Ended up being the best Batman ever, in my opinion. It started with people saying, oh, Heath Ledger is going to be a horrible Joker. Look at his face. There's no way he's going to be a good Joker. Best Joker ever, right? Leonardo DiCaprio is an Oscar-winning, Oscar-nominated thespian, right? And the Joker is a faceless, nameless madman who no one knows his origin. He's just the Joker. My problem is when I look at Joker's face, I'm going to see Leonardo DiCaprio. And that's a problem. It isolates you from the full immersion of the character. You can't have The Rock play Superman and not see The Rock. This is going to throw you out. He's never going to be Superman in your eyes. He's going to be The Rock playing Superman. So unless they really do a good makeup job with Leo and he kills it, then that's great. But they're going to have to do some serious arrangements for me to become immersed and not see Leonardo DiCaprio, running around as the Joker.
I hear you.
Could he do it? He could do anything. He's a very, very, very good actor. And if you can do that, what was that last movie he won the Oscar for?
Is it Inception?
The Revenant?
The Revenant.
If you can do The Revenant, you can do anything. He was out there freezing, eating raccoon guts and stuff. You can play the Joker. You're fine. He'll figure it out.
Well, this is what I think.
You know what I'm saying?
With all of the hype around Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yep. It's big shoes.
Leonardo DiCaprio setting himself up for failure trying to fill those shoes because Heath Ledger is dead. So it's kind of hard to compete with the dead man. Now, honestly, Heath Ledger's Joker is cool. It's not like...
It's not crazy.
Yeah, it's not the point to where I cry when I see it. Like,
right. It's not.
Some people swear by it, like it's the greatest thing ever. But it's cool. He did better than
Jared Leto.
Right. I mean, you can't say he did too much better than
Jack Nicholson.
Because Jack Nicholson, to me, felt like more of a Joker than Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger felt more of like a Riddler. But he was still a villain, and he was a very good villain, and he felt like a psychopathic madman in the movie.
Right.
Which that's what the Joker is.
Needs to be, right?
Right. But he just... See, the thing that I think Heath Ledger didn't do, and this is not about Heath Ledger. I'm going to get back to Leonardo DiCaprio in a second.
Okay.
He did everything right, but I just didn't feel like he was a psychopathic madman that was like the Joker. He was just a psychopathic madman.
You didn't see any Joker in
I just saw a psychopath.
Right.
I didn't see the Joker, basically. Thank you. Now, getting to Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, Heath Ledger got a 9 out of a 10.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. It's like in the Iron Chef thing where, your dish is perfect, but you miss the main ingredient.
Right.
I don't
Good analogy, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be able to pull this in any way, shape, or form. Because number one, every single role that he's had is predicated on his ability to be a looker. The attractive guy.
He's always
in
the
a
pretty
situation
boy,
that's above his head.
Right. Joker's anything, but he's not a looker.
Right. He's not a looker. He's
not the center. He's not really the center of attention as Batman.
Another thing is Joker has to be able to master comedy. So the Joker's supposed to be a funny person.
Right.
But it's supposed to be so sick that it's funny, but you can't laugh at it because it's so sick. It's gut wrenching. Mm-hmm. So, my friend, he's aspiring to be an actor, and he said the hardest thing for an actor to do is comedy.
Right.
And that's where a great actor like Heath Ledger failed him, because being able to do comedy is hard enough, but being able to do psychopathic comedy is.
I like where you're going, because I've also, I've heard the saying, the two hardest things to make someone feel is scared or laugh, because it's a guttural, instant feeling.
I can't say fear. I can't say fear. As long as you got that, goddammit, you're going to put some fear in somebody's heart. You know what I'm saying? And if for you guys that don't know, the goddammit is a gun.
Well, that's a real life situation. But I mean, if you're making a horror film,
a film,
it's really easy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Not scare someone. It's the hardest thing to pull off, to manufacture.
It's fear.
It's fear, and it's comedy.
It's comedy, right?
Because no one's going to fake a laugh, and no one's going to fake being scared. And if they do, it's so obvious. Right. So, what is the Joker? He's terrifying and he's funny. So you're asking someone to do the two hardest things in the world and blend it.
And then you're asking the guy that's the heartthrob to do it.
And you're asking the prettiest guy to ugly himself up, first of all.
Yeah.
And then
fuck it, get Orlando Bloom to do it.
Orlando Bloom is the garbage stuff.
Tell Legolas to.
Legolas is not funny, man.
I mean, come on now.
You don't have, and the thing is, you don't have to be funny. It's just that you have to pull it off. And I think, can Leonardo pull it off?
No. If you look at and that's just my opinion. If you look at
his past work,
his past work, he hasn't really, his range doesn't fit this. Now, the reason why I think
his range,
the reason why I think Michael Keaton could pull it off, because he has more range than Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, he does.
He didn't get into the acting game as a looker. Mm-hmm. He didn't get here because he was a heartthrob and he was smoldering on camera. Yeah. So he had, as Batman, but I meant Oscar. God damn it, Jack Nicholson. Right. He didn't get here as a looker. Actually, he's been doing movies for years and years and years. A lot of different characters, and he didn't make it till he was older. Mm-hmm. So. Jack Nicholson was a master actor before he got that, and he did comedy, he did horror, he did all that before he did the Joker. So he was able to kind of, not all the way, he didn't embody the psychopathic part like Heath Ledger did, but he kind of touched on it. You kind of felt that he was crazy, and he would kill you, but he wasn't as crazy as Heath Ledger.
And another knock to Leo is Leonardo DiCaprio, acting-wise, has what I call is the George Clooney syndrome, where in every one of his movies, Leo is Leo.
I'm not going to do that to him.
Leo is Leo, man. Like Wolf of Wall Street and let's say The Aviator, those aren't necessarily too far away from the same character.
I'll put him on the levels of Denzel Washington, where Denzel Washington, but George Clooney is down there at the bottom of the barrel. So that's disrespectful.
Because Denzel's Denzel, right? But at least he can emote and be angry and kind of. But he's not so monotone as to be a George Clooney.
Right, but Denzel can be Denzel, but he can be Denzel like he can play different eras, and he can embody different personas per se, as long as it's
within the wheelhouse of Denzel.
Of Denzel, like a powerful black guy, like Malcolm X. That's doable for him. Now, George Clooney, on the other hand, have you seen Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yes.
He was Daniel Ocean's in that movie.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be some country guy that just got out of jail. He was a well-spoken, clean-cut businessman from, goddammit, what was it? Las Vegas. That was in gambling, and he had an airplane. Yeah. And he had a cell phone and a smartphone. And Brother, Where Art Thou?
I'm just saying, like, with Heath, you can see that he wasn't being himself.
He can't be himself. He doesn't even know who he is. All he knows is that he's attractive. And that people want to see him. And he needs to read these goddamn lines and get it over with.
I think the rule of thumb, and I hate using rule of thumb because that's a bad precedent to it. But I think when it comes to comic book films, you never go with a star. No. You can't go with the star.
Cannot.
The star will ruin your film. And it's a double-edged sword for on a business side. You want the star to say Matt Damon is XYZ.
No, because here's
that'll draw in box office.
This is where I argue with you.
But it will ruin the film.
The star is not the star of the movie. Because you already have a cult following from the story itself. Yeah. They're coming. They don't give a fuck who you put in there. Yeah,
that's the problem.
You don't need the star. You're wasting money.
You're wasting money on a star.
Now, because what they're trying to do is duplicate the Avengers' success.
And they're trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, they can't.
You can't do that.
But see, with the Avengers' success, they have actual stars that are leading the role and bringing them in. So it's just they got lucky. I would say
the difference between the Avengers is that these stars became stars organically through the Avengers. Except for like Robert Downey Jr.
Scarlett Johansson.
She wasn't a star. She wasn't as big as she was when she was in Iron Man 2.
Okay.
Samuel
Jackson.
Samuel Jackson was a big get for them. Was a very big get, and he didn't even start off originally. He was a cameo when he first came on for the original Iron Man. He didn't really pick up until the Avengers film. He was only in cameos. Okay. So he wasn't necessarily, Chris Hemsworth is Thor.
Chris Hemsworth is not a star.
Who is Chris Hemsworth? But he's a star now.
Right.
Chris Evans.
Chris
Evans is Captain America. Who's Chris Evans? I thought he was the Human Torch. You know what I'm saying? Like, Marvel has organically created their stars. Who plays the Hulk?
That guy.
That guy. Right?
Yeah, I don't know these guys. You're right.
And these are household names. Whereas if you shoehorn
Will
Smith as Deadpool, I'm sorry, not Deadpool, but Deadshot into your Suicide Squad movie, it's jarring because it's Will Smith.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
But,
the star ruins the superhero film.
Yeah, but you mean to tell me there are going to be less people that go see the Suicide Squad movie if Will Smith wasn't in it?
No, and it's business versus art. Do you want to make a good movie or do you want to make money?
Right, but if the business dudes were smart, they would not give Will Smith all that money, put it in their goddamn pocket.
That could have went more towards the film.
Or for marketing the film to get more people to watch it.
If you would have just thrown Malik Yoba in that spot or whoever, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you could have donated more money to the screenwriters, to the effects team, to the quality of the show, rather than giving 40% of your collateral to an actor, to a star,
right? Who
you think will carry this film no matter who sees it.
So let me ask you about this, because I think this one, for example, is different.
Okay.
So this is a different subject, but the same idea.
Okay.
Now the Crow reboot is picked up by Sony Pictures.
Interesting.
And I personally think that it would be good if they use a star for the Crow reboot.
You know what? I can't argue that, because the Crow in itself is a fluid character. There's been more than one Crow in the comics. And for those who don't know what the Crow is, it was a film back with Brandon Lee, actually, was in the original Crow. And it's about an undead technical vigilante who has to get revenge on the people who killed him. So you can put a star in the Crow and sell it that way, because there's nothing iconic attached to it already. You know what I mean? You can put your star in there and make them the Crow in that particular sense. But the bigger the face, the more jarring it's going to be. And that's kind of like that uncanny valley, that balance. You can't. It'll be tough to put. Let's say, let's go back to Leonardo DiCaprio, or a big star like who's the guy who was in Deadpool? Ryan Reynolds as the Crow. You know what I mean? It would be more difficult to immerse yourself into this character if you keep seeing this recognizable face over and over. Right. Would it benefit and bring more people in the seats? Yes. But that actor would really have to nail it for you to forget. You know what I mean? It's something that's earned. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much what I think what boils down to my feeling about it is that if you're going to put your star in the film, they have to earn that role. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they have to earn that immersion, because if not, then at the end of the film you're gonna say, oh, The Rock was pretty cool in that. You're not gonna be like, oh man, The Rock is Black Adam now. You know what I mean? That has to be earned.
Yeah,
that's on the actor and that's on the creative team.
I get that. I just think that because of where The Crow was
right
in production and filming,
mm-hmm.
and because it doesn't have that deep history, steeped in that history where
mm-hmm.
a lot of things have to fit a particular way. I think they have a bit more liberty to play. The only problem I see is that, based on what I see, that, you know, there's a lot of things that's stopping this from even looking like it's going to actually happen. There's bankruptcies going on.
Well, Sony's a hot mess right now.
Yeah.
Sony Pictures is a very big hot mess.
People are getting thrown off the set.
And
switching up. So
it's already looking kind of like a crapshoot. But if it happens,
it's probably going to be terrible. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because there's too many chefs, you know, circling the pot.
And you know, they're going to get they're looking like they're trying to get some guy from Game of Thrones. James,
that's fine. There's a lot of like young talent in the Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
that you can.
So that's what they're trying to do.
That's cool. I'm cool with that.
The Crow. I mean, that what I'm saying is that movie doesn't have a big as a cult following. Let's say as
the Avengers,
a comic book, you know, or a video game. Mm-hmm. So attaching a star to it would be understandable in the business sense. Is bringing a lot more people, like fans of that actor in Game of Thrones. They're going to want to come see this.
See him,
and be the Crow, and then they'll go see like, well, what is the Crow
exactly? And
then they'll learn about Brandon Lee. Like, oh, I didn't know that was Bruce Lee's son.
And I agree with you that this is a way for this to kind of to turn on his head this situation on a different side where it's not something as universally known as Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Where the character is selling the film. Right. You can put anybody in that role as long as it rocks. People will go see it. Whereas the opposite, the Crow is not a household name. So
it has a small cult following.
It's a small cult following.
Well, let me ask you this: what did you think about the films, plural, that they made?
I like the first one for what it was. It was very artistic, and the other ones were kind of garbage.
What do you think about them trying to reboot the first one?
I don't mind it because the Crow is a very fluid character. It's the Crow in the comics. There's been like 5 or 6 different Crows, and they all have different origin stories and different ways they approach them becoming the Crow. So, like you said, it's a bit more malleable because the character is not so well known. Right. So I'm happy with them taking liberties in creating a Crow film because there's not much. There's not much you can mess up. You're not going to upset anybody if you do something different. Because the Crow's origin is always usually a murder, and then the resurrection of the departed coming back to seek their revenge. You can spin that 100 different ways. If they set the Crow in the Wild West, I wouldn't care. You know what I mean? Because the story in its essence can still be told. Revenge, and there's no tale as old as time than revenge. You know what I'm saying? So
I like it.
I would rock with that. In fact, that would be more interesting than them setting it in modern day.
Yeah, I dig it.
You know what I'm saying?
I think something a lot better than a remake. Mm-hmm. I would be interested in, but that's just me.
I feel you. I would like them to shake it up a little bit.
All right, so now tell me what you think about the No More Heroes.
You ever played that?
Travis Strikes Again.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. To feature Shovel Knight. Collaboration.
I wanted to talk about this one because No More Heroes is one of those games that you thought were never going to come out again. It was originally a Wii exclusive, I want to say, and it built a really big cult following. You play the character as Travis Touchdown, and you're an assassin, and the assassins are ranked from 1 to 100, and the goal of the game is to go through each assassin to become the number 1 assassin, and pretty much it's like it's a tongue-in-cheek kind of like adventure game, kind of like a character action game. Mm-hmm. And when I played it, I didn't play 2. I only played the first one, but I liked it. And I like the approach on what they're doing with this game. And what they're doing is they're going to be utilizing different gaming companies within the game to create levels for this game. So let's say Travis Touchdown goes to NetherRealm World, where he's going to play Mortal Kombat and play with Mortal Kombat characters. Then he's going to go to, let's say, Devolver World, where he's going to play with Shovel Knight, and it's going to adjust the visuals, it's going to adjust the music, it's going to adjust the gameplay, and I think that's a very fascinating approach to gaming, where it's not one note. You know what I mean? It's like you could be playing a racing game on one level, or you can be playing a fighting game the next, or So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that is. Absolutely.
It's a weird approach.
So. That is interesting.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's something I haven't seen that often. Like there's some game. It's not They're not reinventing the wheel, but using other gaming companies and like and collaborating with them. That's crazy.
Okay.
You know?
So let's get to one of your favorite games.
Right.
One of them. Playable Street Fighter 2, 30th anniversary edition, glow in the dark SNES cartridge. What do you think about that?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's one of those things where they make it and they expect nostalgic gamers to buy it, right? How many people do you know still have their Super Nintendo in working condition?
2.
2, right?
Yeah.
And if you found this, and it's a funny story behind this, is that, yes, what this is a 30th anniversary Super Nintendo cartridge of Street Fighter 2. Old school OG Street Fighter. Mm-hmm. And it works. But it's meant to be bought as a collector's item. Now, they've recently had to update this news article to say, please do not try to play this, because it may cause your Super Nintendo to catch on fire. They said, do not play the game. Play it at your own risk. The game may catch fire. And people are wondering, well, why is that? Why would you even give that? Why would you sell it if that's the case? Where they're saying that the case may be that all these old Nintendos may not be up to snuff anymore, and if you actually try to play them, they may overheat and catch on fire. But at the same time, if you just treat it like a collector's item, then, you know, you can just hang it up somewhere and it'll look cool. You know what I mean? And it also commemorates the 30th anniversary of Street Fighter, one of the best fighting games of all time, in my humble opinion. Okay. And if I would buy it if I saw it, as long as it's not crazy expensive. You know what I mean? But just don't try to play it.
Just don't try to. Well, that's if
don't try to play it.
If you still got that in SNES.
Yeah, if you still got the SNES you bought, you know, that one.
You know what?
You got
if
for
you
Christmas,
still got an SNES, you might have to dust it off, and any game you play might catch fire.
And that's what they're saying. It's one of those disclaimers, like, you know, well, this car does have this car may be malfunctioning. Drive at your own risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
it's
you gotta
old.
Understand the power of these TVs and
and
everything. It's pumping the juice through these old systems,
and even like the way houses are made now, and all the juice that's pumped through these electrical sockets, it's not the same as back in 1990. You know what I mean? So you pump too much juice into an antiquated system, it may just catch on fire on you.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy.
Now, let's talk about one thing that I was kind of interested in.
Okay.
Mario is no longer a plumber. His official profile states that he was one a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
So what is this all about?
Here's the thing, and I've read about this article, and I just recently read it, and I was saying, what? Why even do that? And on Nintendo.com, they have like little paragraph descriptors of all their major characters. Mario, Link from Legend of Zelda, and characters like that. And they recently updated his to say, well, Mario was a plumber at some point, but he's been a doctor. He's been an intergalactic savior of the universe and all that crazy stuff.
Right.
We can't really consider him a plumber no more because he hasn't been a plumber since the first Mario. He's been stuck in the Mushroom Kingdom, saving the world ever since. So
hasn't he been going through those
portal tubes, right? That's the whole point, right?
So he needs a plunger. What if some water gets in there?
Exactly. So that's my whole gripe about it. It's like, it's kind of dumb. It's like, why retire that for him? And like, I think what they're trying to do is like, oh, he's more than a plumber now. He's pretty much the Mary Sue. But he's still, at the end of the day, he has to go down to, he's still a plumber.
Here's my thing. What's wrong with Mario being a plumber?
And that's a whole other thing right there.
Is that a knock on, that's
right a knock
there.
On plumbers.
Right. So if you're a plumber and you own the Mario game,
you can no longer identify with Mario.
Now it's just like, you're not good enough to be on Mario's level.
You can't buy the Wii U because you're a plumber.
I mean, you can buy it, but just know that you're not as good as Mario.
Mario looks down on you now that you're a plumber.
Yeah, I mean, he used to be a plumber hundreds of years ago when he was a kid. I mean,
how old is Mario, do you think? You think he just stopped aging in the Mushroom Kingdom? And like he's immortal?
That's a good question. And
he dies multiple times. You think that he's actually just a clone?
That is a good question.
And the real Mario died in the first time you died on a Nintendo?
Well, not me.
Not me.
Whoever had the first Nintendo, he probably died in the development stage.
He died in development before the game was even out.
He never even made it to production.
You hear that, folks? Mario's a clone. Get hype. And Princess Peach is having an affair with Bowser. That's why they keep moving. That's why they keep moving from house to house, because he keeps blowing up the spot.
It's a hustle. It's a hustle. She get with Mario till he collect all the chips.
Yep.
Then she run off, give it to Bowser.
Yep.
And say, Mario, come save me. He go and take all these coins and bestow them to the princess.
And then she just moves to another house.
And then Pillow talking to Bowser.
Yep.
And Bowser come from behind, take all the money. He don't take it. She give it to Bowser.
She give it to Bowser.
That's right.
Bowser just stacks chips and says, "Go get that money." She smooth talk Mario in the next land. He pretty much collects all the money, gives it to her. I'm going to quote the immortal Snoop Dogg. She found a sucker and she licked it.
Right. So, here's my question. If Mario's not a plumber, then what is he?
Mario's an intergalactic super savior that also is a doctor because of Dr. Mario. He's also a tennis master. He's a kart racing genius.
So he's
an artist.
He's the Renaissance.
He's a Renaissance man who just happened to start as a plumber.
Okay.
According to Nintendo Japan, Glorious Nippon, they don't know what they're talking about.
I'll take that.
I'll take it. I wanted to add something that I just found out today to the news. I'm so hyped for this news. They're bringing back Nightmare Creatures. Do you remember Nightmare Creatures on the PlayStation?
Yes.
They're remaking Nightmare Creatures for 2017. I am so excited for Nightmare Creatures. I've been screaming for them to remake that game for a very long time because it just died on the vine on PlayStation. There wasn't even a PlayStation 2 version of it. It was just, there's Nightmare Creatures 1 and then 2, and that was it. And
what was the wolf's name on Nightmare Creatures?
I think you're thinking about Darkstalkers.
Oh.
That's John Talbane, the werewolf with the nunchucks.
Okay. Darkstalkers. What's Nightmare Creatures?
Nightmare Creatures was kind of like...
It's a fighting game, though.
Nah, it's Nightmare Creatures is a... it's kind of like a beat 'em up, but it's 3D. It's one of the first 3D action games where it takes place in Sherlock Holmes time England, and you fight against like werewolves and vampires and shit. And
I know I played the game.
It's super old and it's super dated and it looks just horrible, but it was fun back then. You know what I'm saying?
I know I played the game.
I used to have it. I'm sure you played it over my place back in the day. Nightmare Creatures is one of my favorite unsung games. It's like Nightmare Creatures and Bushido Blade are games that I just wish.
Bushido Blade was a very good game.
I wish they would bring back Bushido Blade.
It was ahead of its time.
Ahead of its time. And fighting games are just now starting to play on that level. Bushido Blade was so good. But I digress. Nightmare Creatures has been announced for 2017. More on that as it develops. That was some good news. Good business?
Absolutely.
Good business. Definitely good business. So we've reached the part of the show where we're going to go into some questions and answers. We're going to answer some questions. And if you want to send a question, you can always send that to mastersofthenerdiversecast@gmail.com. And you may say, "Hey, Mike, my ears just got blown out by Black Canary. I didn't hear what you said." I say, "Stop fighting Black Canary," and send a question to mastersofthenerdiversecast@gmail.com.
Alrighty. So, Mike.
Yes.
From our, what should we call our fans or our fellow nerds?
Our fellow nerds within the Nerdiverse. That sounds good.
Our fellow nerds within the Nerdiverse.
Yeah.
One question we have here is, what's an old cartoon from your past that you hated but everyone else loved?
Oh, there wasn't that many because I was really geeked up about most things. Where everybody was really into like Robotech. You remember Robotech? Or Macross?
Yes. Yep.
It was just
Microsis?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? It was like with giant
Gundam that it turned into Gundam later.
Yeah, everyone, when I was back in my old elementary school, everybody was kind of on that tough. And I was more of a Gundam kid, so I was just like, no, that's this lame bootleg Gundam. And I got a little flack for that. Another cartoon that I just never really got into was, I would say, I don't know. For what it's worth, I think the Spider-Man animated series wasn't as good as people thought it was. It was a little.
The one that came out in the 90s?
Yeah, Radioactive Spider-Blood.
Okay.
I liked it, but it wasn't as good as X-Men to me.
Right, nothing was good as X-Men.
X-Men was the best. So I just saw it as kind of like a less and more ambitious X-Men. And I think that's going to upset a ton of people because I know a lot of people love that Spider-Man animated series, but it was just okay for me.
I know this is going to upset a whole lot of people.
Okay.
But I'll personally have to go with Dragon Ball Z.
Ooh, blasphemy. I need explanations, man. Come on, you can't front. Dude,
I like the Dragon Ball Z movies.
Okay.
I don't like the shows
I remember
or series.
We would take the bus to go to that one little Japanese video store all the way in Santa Monica to go find the movies.
Yeah, the movies.
But you never really were into the show.
I hate the show.
Crazy.
It's too long and drawn out.
Crazy.
And it's filled with too many characters that I care less for.
Oh man. That's gonna ruffle some.
I can't say that I didn't like Dragon Ball Z, so I really couldn't put that in there because I did like Dragon Ball Z and I like the movies and I like a few of the characters.
Right.
So I can't really say that with actual honesty. Now I can't say that I hated it. I just didn't like the show, the episodes.
Okay.
Now, if I really had to hone down on the hate, there's a lot. I got a lot of hate. But when I was younger, it started out with shows like Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Smurfs.
Oh yeah, I can already tell you hated the Smurfs.
No, the Smurfs wasn't as bad as Alvin and the Chipmunks. Alvin and the Chipmunks brought me to a rage where I just wanted to fight. That is the worst thing ever.
So you were on site with Alvin and the Chipmunks.
You couldn't put that shit on around me. Turn that off.
Turn that off.
I didn't like that high pitched sound. It was it hurt. It just hurt my brain.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Later on in life,
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
It was probably The Simpsons.
Okay. I can see that.
That was probably the main one.
Simpsons is very polarizing, actually.
I've never made it through one full episode.
Wow. Well, I stopped at season 10, but then again, people say I'm crazy because I stopped at season 10. That's when it stopped being funny to me.
You got to keep going. But nah, you stop it whenever you need to.
Stop it whenever you need to.
I stopped Trailer Park Boys at season 5.
Oh man, that's a shit cheetah.
All right. So I got another question for you.
Let's go.
When you play a new fighting game, how do you pick your main character?
Ooh, how do you pick your main character?
Well, I'm gonna say this right now.
Go for it.
I look for the most. I look for whoever looks the dopest. When I say looks the dopest, they have to look menacing, unforgiving, and focus on just victory. And they have to look it. They have to look like victory is the only thing that they focus on. So the look of Akuma, the look of Ryu, the look of Heihachi Mishima. What other fighting games? Can we name some?
I would say, who would you say would your Mortal Kombat equivalent be?
My Mortal Kombat equivalent
would it be like one of the ninjas, like Scorpion or Sub-Zero? Liu Kang?
No, I mean a lot of their faces are covered.
Yeah,
but I would have to roll with that. Mortal Kombat is more of it's probably the most equal game. Yeah, in terms of character
design.
I don't know. There's not one of Mortal Kombat. I'll have to be honest.
Right. What about like Soul Calibur? Have you ever played Soul Calibur?
Soul Calibur is probably the most equal game of all. Yeah. But if they had Heihachi Mishima on there, so he just had that look. So that's not the character I'll stick with, is what I'll say.
But that's how you pick.
That's how I'll pick.
Good answer.
How would you go about it?
Me, I always pick the odd duck out, man. I want to pick the most weirdest, most awkward looking character in the game. So, like when I first played Street Fighter and I was little Mikey Short Pants and I didn't know what to do, I instinctively played Blanca because he looked the most different. And he looked like, he just looked crazy. Like I wanted to play the character that no one else is going to play so I can have an advantage. That's usually how I pick a character. My Soul Calibur equivalent was Ivy because she had that crazy whip sword that was just so difficult to use. My Mortal Kombat equivalent to that, I've always been a Sub-Zero guy. Because everyone's always Scorpion. And it's really like, you got to pick one when you're a kid. Are you going to go Scorpion or Sub-Zero?
Yeah.
I'm a Sub-Zero guy. I've always been a Sub-Zero guy.
Mortal Kombat is one of those games that everybody has an opposite.
Yeah. If you think about it, everyone has kind of like a opposite to
themselves. You got Liu Kang and Kung Lao.
Opposites.
All those, they're not opposites,
rivals.
But they're
everyone
rivals.
has a rival.
That's what I should say. Sector and Cyrax.
Sector and Cyrax. You know what I mean? Like
Katana and Goro.
Katana and Melina. Melina was the other
Kitaro.
Kitaro and Goro.
That's what I should have said. Katana and Melina. You're right.
You know what I'm saying? So Mortal Kombat's very balanced.
It is balanced.
Pick your poison.
But Soul Calibur is probably the most balanced fighting game there is.
Because Soul Calibur and Tekken, for that matter, are made very much balanced-minded.
No. Tekken's not balanced. You can cheat in Tekken. They got characters that are overpowered that are not balanced with other characters. There's a few, like Devil and Angel. They're the only characters.
But they're also boss characters, though. Boss characters are never supposed to be balanced. Like Akuma would be considered a boss character because he has his air fireball and all that crazy raging demons.
But see, like let's take a boss character in Mortal Kombat for example.
Let's say Goro.
No, let's say Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn. He's like legit can't play as him boss character.
Right, but no, when you could play as him, because there's ways you could play as him as older versions of Mortal Kombat.
Right.
You can't though he's very strong.
Yeah.
He's limited on what he can do. He doesn't have like true jump kicks. He doesn't have a trip.
Yeah.
So he's powered up, but he's dulled down in terms of how many moves he can pull off. And usually
their health is a lot lower too.
Right. Yeah. So even though he is a boss level character, it still is.
He's defeatable.
He's defeatable if you know how to play. If you don't know how to play,
yeah, he's gonna wipe you.
He's gonna wipe the floor with you. Mm-hmm. But if you know how to play.
In the fighting game community, they call that a glass cannon, where they're all offense.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand their offense, you're going to beat every single time.
Right.
But if you understand their offense and play proper defense,
just hit them one time,
and you break that glass. Good question, man. I mean, I always pick the odd duck out, the character that no one else is going to pick.
Right.
Because I like people not knowing where I'm coming from.
So how come you didn't pick Dalzim?
Because Dalzim was too slow.
Ah.
Like you said, it all starts with aesthetics. You know what I'm saying?
That is the odd duck out.
You know, it always starts with aesthetics. Like you look at the roster, right? Before you even touch the controller. I don't want to pick him. He's too hero-y. I don't want to pick her.
But in the original Street Fighter, wasn't Chun-Li the only girl?
She was the only girl.
So then that would have made her the odd duck out.
True. But my father played Chun-Li, and I couldn't play who he was playing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My dad's a Chun-Li player.
So he was pretty. So it was Beauty and the Beast.
It was Beauty and the Beast when we were at the house.
Right.
And I was a little kid, and he would wipe the floor with me.
I remember he was Chun-Li.
He would do Chun-Li throws all day. And I got so salty that I had to become the best in fighting games, at least in my little small circle. And me and Blanca made it work because he wasn't the hero. You couldn't pick Balrog back then. Otherwise, I probably would have picked Balrog, the boxer. But, you know, Blanca had unconventional moves. He had like the electricity that was like really weird between all the other characters. He had his you know what I'm saying?
Well, that makes me think now. I got a quick rapid shot fire question.
Let's do it.
Just quick, one answer.
Yep.
Mugen style fighting game. All the characters you can pick.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going with?
Mecha Tom Hanks. God tier.
Okay.
without thinking.
There you go.
Mecha Tom Hanks or Nightmare Geese.
Nightmare Geese.
Nightmare Geese Howard.
All right.
Geese Howard's my favorite fighting game villain of all time.
I'll say, was it Mega Shinron?
Mega Shinron
or Shin Akuma?
Yeah, man. You got to pick Omega Bob Saget. It's too powerful.
He's in the game.
He's a Mugen character.
That's right.
Or you got to pick. What's this? It's called Boring Ass Ken. And it's like the most overpowered Ken in the entire Mugen. The name of the character is called Boring Ass Ken.
Oh, is that right?
And he just looks like Ken from Capcom vs. SNK, but he has like all the ultra moves. Like he has Raging Demons and he has infinite Shin Shurikens and all types of crazy stuff.
Oh, wow.
He's super dumb. Play Mugen if you can.
Oh yeah,
play
absolutely.
Mugen. Because it's an experience, man. If you know how to set it up, if you got the patience for it.
Right.
You gotta have the patience for it. And watch Salty Bet. I've already said this on his podcast. Watch Salty Bet. You will get an understanding of what Mugen is.
Okay.
Salty Bed is awesome. I want to show you Salty Bed because I know you would like it.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So what are you looking forward to next week?
Next week, I want to play some more Sonic Mania. Definitely want to play some more of that because I like Sonic. At least I like old school Sonic. I want to get into Destiny 2. That comes out this week.
Oh my goodness.
MMORPG. I want to play some Destiny 2.
I want that game so bad.
Yeah, I want to play some Destiny 2, man. So I want to find some money and pay and just get that game. I got to see what it's about.
Definitely.
I want to finish watching Death Note because that anime is the business and I like it a lot. And I'm looking forward to doing some artwork for the channel, for this show. I have a kind of an idea of how I want it to look, and you guys will see it. Nice. What are you looking forward to this week?
Oh, being that this is a short week.
Yeah, it's a short week.
I'm finishing up one of these books, and I'll be grabbing a new book, which is the Dune. I'll be diving into this Dune series. A
lot of our listeners were like, "That's crazy! Like, that's cool that you're going to dig into Dune."
Right? Yes. Definitely.
Yeah. You got to keep me posted on that.
Right, yeah. So, you know what? I'll probably keep everybody posted on my progress with Dune because it's supposedly a wealth of knowledge and information.
It's a tome, dude. Yeah, man. And also, we're collaborating to bring some more content to the channel. Between me and Bradley, we have some really good ideas. And I can't wait to show you guys and kind of put them into action. And just to give you some more of what you need here at the Masters of the Nerdiverse. Like always, you can find me on Twitter, which is mnerdiverse. That is at mnerdiverse. And you have any passing thoughts before we wrap up for today?
Right. Okay. You can always find me under a rock. Probably not the rock you're looking for because I kind of keep myself well hidden. But if you're feeling lucky, flip that baby over. And, you can hit me on that link.
He's a trapdoor spider, guys. It's like you walk by, Bradley will pull you in for a second and show you like the last Clippers game, and he'll just spit you out. You don't know what happened.
No, let's not say the last Clippers game. The last Milwaukee Bucks game.
There you go. He'll sit you down and watch that Milwaukee Bucks game, and it's like you're spinning, and next thing you know, you're just out of it, and you know more about the Bucks. Thank you for listening to our show once again. I'm of course your host, Mike G, and
I'm your boy, Bradley. It was my pleasure.
Bradley. Always a pleasure, good sir. And we're always going to ask you to go that one step beyond.